We are back, Bears Nation podcast. It is Friday, a surprise, unexpected, gifted Friday episode of Bears Nation podcast. As always, brought to you by On Tap Sports Net. Myself, Jake Hassan, joined as always by him, Kevin Lapka. We have a schedule release episode. We're a little late. We know, whatever. Get over it. I lost my voice earlier this week, so we're back. And here we are. And Kevin forgot to come into the studio at Score Studios today, as I told him to. But it's fine. It's all good. We're gonna do it anyway. And we're live today. We are back with the live viewers and commenters. Been a while since you guys have been back with us, chopping it up in the comments. So appreciate everyone being here. We have this Friday afternoon. We'll get a little weird with it too. It's Friday. Why not? Who cares? But Kevin, how we doing? We're back.
Let's get weird, Jake. Let's get weird. We are back. We got people. We had this guy waiting in the chat. This dude said, "Where y'all boys at?" Because they're just waiting in the chat, bro. I love it. I love because the past few shows that we've done, we've been pre-recording it because we've been busy. We've had our lives. We've been doing it in the studio, and it's been during the day, so we pre-recorded it. But we're back. We're live, so we want to see all commenters active. Let's get excited, man, because this schedule is here. It's exciting. I don't know if I'm going to give a full prediction, and I haven't figured it out yet. I don't know if I'm going to give my record prediction.
I will be shocked if you don't. I will be stunned if you don't.
Because things can change, right? Things can change. Injuries happen. I don't know. But I think for the sake of content, for the sake of content, I'm doing it. At the end of the show, I'm laying out my record prediction. So that's something for y'all to look forward to. We got Shane in the chat. We got Skox in the chat. We're ready to go, man. Let's do it. Let's break this thing down.
Yeah, all right. This is going to be mostly schedule. And first of all, I just want to say the Bears did awesome with their schedule release video. Everyone, all the teams try to do a gimmick and try to do something new and cool. But the Bears did something really awesome. They ripped off The Bear, the famously Hulu series with Jeremy Allen White. And it was really good. I thought they crushed it. Everyone made an appearance for the most part. Justin Fields made an appearance. Darren Mooney, famously. So I thought it was really good. Shane Rollins, which I'm not huge.
Seth Rollins.
Seth Rollins, whatever. Same thing. I got Shane on the mind, I guess. But anyway, I thought it was really great. But yeah, let's get into it. First week 1, opening week of the season. And of course, it's the Packers. It has to be at home. Jordan Love and the Packers start their new era at Soldier Field and to open the season. And it's a mid-afternoon game too, Kevin. 3:25 slot Central Time, which is going to be really interesting. But what do you think? I mean, the Packers opening up new eras really for both teams. You think the Bears kind of started theirs last season, but the Packers really, the Aaron Rodgers era ends, and now we go.
This is perfect, right? Because not for years, but for the past 2 years, we talked about the changing of the guard, right? The changing of the guard, the switch between Justin Fields, Aaron Rodgers and the Packers being at the top of the North, and now Justin Fields and the Bears owning this division, we hope, for the next 5 to 10 years, right? And no better way to do it than week 1. Right off, set the tone. This is your chance to set the tone and send a message to the rest of the division. Say, hey, we are here. This is the way it's going to be from now on, and you better understand that at our house, on our turf, we are going to put you down. And no better way to do it. Now, I was a little bit surprised. The game week 18 against the Packers is all TBD. So I think the hope for the NFL is by some miracle, both of these teams are fighting for the division crown at that game. What's that?
One or both.
Yeah, one or both, right? So it's relevant for someone to get a playoff berth, and then they flex that in, and now they can flex into Monday Night Football, but you can't do that week 18 anyway. So that would only be flexed into to Sunday night. But this week 1 game. So the reason I said that, the first time in I think 5 or 6 years, the Bears have not played the Packers on a primetime game, but I'm almost happy because almost every time the Bears do play the Packers on primetime, it feels like it's in Lambeau, right? And you always get screwed by that. You have to go to Lambeau when the lights shine the brightest against Aaron Rodgers, and yeah, that's done now. But you're at 325, you're at home, you're in a comfortable spot, not too much pressure. This is such a good opportunity for the Bears to start this season on a good note. And if you beat the Packers week 1, you send that message, you set the tone. I think it's gonna skyrocket the confidence of this team just to beat your division rival and to really send that message and to show that, hey, we are leaps and bounds ahead of where you guys are as far as the process in your championship window and where you're directed as a franchise. And I saw an article today that was like, should Bears fans be more worried that the Packers are going to be bad enough to get Caleb Williams or Drake May, or more worried that the Packers are going to be good enough to make the playoffs? And I thought that was a really good, interesting question. Just like if it's binary, right? What would you be more worried about?
I have an immediate answer.
What is it?
I'm more worried about the former, about them getting Williams or May.
Me too.
I'm way more worried about the former.
Me too. I mean, I don't know about May, right? I got to do more research on that. So are the Packers really going to be bad enough to get number 1 overall? Like, I don't know about that. I mean, but I guess they could trade up in a situation,
right, theoretically.
It's possible. But there's a lot of people, Jake, that think, famously, your producer of You Better You Bet and Nick Costas and Ken Barkley are like all in on the Packers to win the division. Like, there's a lot of people that are saying, well, just because Aaron Rodgers is gone, you can't sleep on him.
That's a different
not Len, but sure.
That's a different conversation because that's more of a betting conversation as far as price and
right.
what the price to win the division. Not that they think that the Packers are a slam dunk to win the division. It's just the NFC North is probably going to be so clustered together because the Vikings are due for regression. The Lions are probably going to be pretty good. And the Bears are expected to take a step forward. And the Packers are expected to take a regression with Aaron Rodgers leaving, even though, they weren't great last year. So it's more of a, should the Packers really be so priced last in the division behind everybody else by a significant margin when it's theoretically going to be so cluttered together? Not saying that it's not a conversation of, it's not a Packers conversation. It's a betting conversation.
Right. Yeah. No, I get that 100%. But I think there's still people who are worried, right? So this is an and look, let me tell you right now, if they lose week 1, I'll be in hell. Like you cannot lose that game, right? Because the narrative is going to be new quarterback, same old thing, right? We own you regardless.
May 19th. It's May 19th, and we are in Kevin Lapka can't lose this game territory.
We are here. We're all in, baby. Let's go. We're back. Come on. It's a must-win game. You cannot lose. Am I wrong though? I'm sure everyone in chat would agree with me. I'm sure you would agree with me. If you lose that game, you cannot lose that game. If you lose that game, you're set. You blow it up. Rebuild. If you lose that game,
it's not. It would be. Obviously, wins are better than losses. It would be much, much better if you win that game than lose that game. Yes. I wouldn't call it a must-win game because you have to think about with this Bears team, yes, we expect them to take a step forward. Yes, we expect Justin Fields to take that next leap, even. I wouldn't even say step, that next leap into being a Pro Bowl, all-pro type of player. But there are going to be, theoretically, at least from where we sit right now on May 19th, it's about to be summer, the start of summer. I think that we have to also be realistic that there is going to be probably a learning curve for this team once you get into real game action, because you do add so many new different parts. You had a brand new right tackle, rookie right tackle. You had a brand new right guard. You probably are adding a new center in some form or fashion of Cody Whitehair or Lucas Patrick or whatever. You have for all intents and purposes, new left guard and Tevin Jenkins, who's flipping positions again. Really the only staple that you have carried over on the offensive line even from last year is Braxton Jones at left tackle, which is very important, obviously. Then that's not even to mention that you now add a brand new number 1 wide receiver in DJ Moore and building that chemistry between Justin Fields and DJ Moore. You had a whole new running back committee type situation with Donta Foreman and Khalil Herbert and what's his face who you drafted? Rashawn Johnson. You had a whole new group there as well. You add now into the mix Darnell Mooney moving back to the number 2 role. Chase Claypool moving from the 2 to 3 role. You add now, how does Cole Kmet fit into this whole equation? How does Luke Getsy plan for another year? So this is all not negative things. These are all objectively good things, obviously. But we have to be realistic about that first week or 2 or even 3 might not be smooth sailing right off the bat. So I'm not going to call must-win games or can't lose games. Obviously, you would like to win those games, and the Packers are vulnerable. You can win those games. But if things don't, you don't hit the ground running right away, I'm not ready to pull the panic, button and rip the cord and say, "Oh my God, everything's at the best. What are we doing?" Blah blah blah. There's gonna be some bumps in the road, and probably, definitely to start, especially.
Yeah, and as everyone should remember, the 49ers were a much better team than the Bears last year, and they
famously went to the NFC Championship game.
Famously went to the NFC Championship and might have went to the Super Bowl if they didn't have a XFL quarterback playing for 2 quarters of the game. But
A guy who could throw, not even
a guy who could throw. Yeah, that's true.
Probably
Didn't have
if
Christian
they had
McCaffrey
AJ McCarron back there, they probably would have won the game.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, I don't know if they would have won the game, but if it weren't Christian McCaffrey back there, yeah, you might be right. But the Bears beat that team week 1, right? And they looked like the better team that day, like all around. And yeah, the conditions, blah, 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 whatever. But weird things do happen week 1. I'm just like, obviously, if they were to lose that game, you know me, I'm not going to declare the season over. But it just feels like as Bears fans, we have been waiting for that moment to say, okay, this is our time now. We have the better quarterback. We have the better team. We have the better defense. We have the better weapons. We have the better coach. Like, we have better everything, right? And now I want you to go out there and prove it, because it's going to be all talk, and there's been a lot of talk for Bears fans, rightfully so, throughout this offseason, like, hey, Justin Fields is him. He's the best quarterback in this division. We're here now. The Packers are going to take a backseat. They're going to be an awful team. And if you lose that game, then it's like, it's just, I think from a confidence standpoint, it would be damaging to the team. And I have faith that they would be able to. I don't know, dude. I don't know.
To the fan base or to the team?
I think to the team. Like,
I'm trying to game season.
Yes.
To be damaging to the team if you lose.
Only because of the opponent in the situation.
If you lose by 1 on a last second field goal.
Not in that case. But if you clearly looked like the worst team. Yeah, if you lose by a touchdown and you clearly were dominating. Yeah, you lose some confidence in that. 100%.
You lose confidence.
Yes.
So not only, all right, we are 12 minutes.
This is a week 1 breakdown.
We are talking about week 1 still. It's May 19th, 12:36 p.m. Central Time. We have had can't lose, must win, damaging to the team, and lost confidence, all already from Kevin Lapka, talking about the 2023-24 season.
And I will stand by it. This is not outlandish. It's not. This is not outlandish. Jake, tell me,
outrageous.
Because here's what's going to happen, too. Darnell Mooney went on Equanimous St. Brown and whatever the fucking guy, Amon-Ra St. Brown. They have a podcast on 3013. Darnell Mooney went on there, and he said openly, he's like, Lions are the Lions. They're always going to be the Lions. Like, the shit talking is going to start. And I guarantee you for the next 4 months, like, it's just... The Bears are going to talk. People are going to talk. And, they're not a team that's, really that talkative. And they don't have a quarterback who's out there outspokenly saying, yeah, we're going to destroy the Packers week 1. But, again, they are aware that this is becoming their division. And the Packers right now, according to everyone for the most part, are at the bottom of that division. And again, the history of this franchise and the history of this rivalry, the emphasis that's going to be put on that game by not only the coaching staff, but by ownership. George McCaskey is going to come down there at training camp and a couple weeks before week 1 and say, how much this means. It's Bears, Packers, 1920, what a Lambeau, Hallis, right? He's going to bring out the history books. And for all the new guys that don't understand the rivalry, right? And the good thing the Bears have going for them, though, that could be the reason that the Bears did this offseason was they acquired a unbelievable number of players from the Chicago area who are very well aware of the meaning of this rivalry. So it's a good thing that they're playing them week 1. Right, we're really in the weeds, but that's also a real thing. And for the player that it matters most is watch Cole Kmet play versus the Packers versus playing against anyone else. That guy wants to run through everyone when he plays the Packers. He gets it. But what'd you say?
I want to look this up now. I want to look up Cole Kmet's stats.
Cole Kmet's stats. No. His stats aren't great. His stats aren't great for the Packers compared to other teams. But when you watch that guy play, he's on a mission to destroy any defender that's in his way. So TJ Edwards, Robert Tonyan, I think is from the Chicago area, right? Yes, Jack Sanborn. There was a couple other guys that they acquired from the Chicago area that I can't remember. Maybe it was just Edwards and Tonyan. Maybe a draft pick. I don't remember. But nonetheless, let's move on. Sorry, we went down the rabbit hole there
you took us there. That was entirely your fault.
Okay, it's entirely my fault, but I will stand by everything I said. I'm not going to roll this back and say, I'm overreacting. No, this game means a lot. This week 1 game means a lot. And their season's not over if they lose, but I will be in hell if they lose. That will be a damaging experience for me.
For you, yes, I agree. I agree with that part.
For you too. For everyone. For every Bears fan, it's going to be damaging.
Yes.
Because then you don't see them for 17 more weeks.
Where you're correct. You finally got there. It'll be damaging for the fan base. I don't know about
No, it will be damaging. Okay, whatever. Let's move on. Week 2, Buccaneers.
All right. Possibly okay, if you lose to the Packers, week 2, you get a bounce back opportunity at Tampa Bay at noon and possibly facing the worst team in the entire league. Todd Bowles, no Tom Brady. Oh, still good defense that's talented and still good wide receivers, but Baker Mayfield, I think you'll be okay. I'm not too worried about this game, even though it's in Tampa.
I'm not too worried about it either. And you get lucky, right? So what you want to do when you look at the schedule is the way it breaks for you in a good way is you do travel against teams that, like, you often want to travel against the teams that are worse, right? You want to play the better teams at home and travel against the teams that are worse, right? You don't fear having to go to Tampa Bay, right? Like, you don't fear having to fly to Tampa Bay and play the Buccaneers at their home turf week 2. Like, that's not a problem. So I'm not concerned about this at all. And this is an opportunity, right? A really good opportunity to start 2-0 because you have a couple stretches in this schedule that are challenging, that you might drop a couple games in a row. So if you can beat Green Bay week 1 and beat Tampa pretty easily, build some confidence, and then go week 3 to Kansas City, then you're feeling good even if you lose that game. You have that cushion. More and more often now in the NFL, now after 17 games, teams that start 2-4, teams that start 1-6, like the Lions, a lot of these teams end up, having an opportunity to get in, especially with that 7 seed later in the season, but you never want to start that way. You want to start ahead, have a little bit of a control over your destiny once it comes later in the season. So I'm glad that they are just, start week 1 at home, right? When's the last time they started week 1 at home? Did they start week 1 at home last year? Yeah, they started week 1 at home last year.
Game.
And the monsoon game, I think that's just always a positive to just settle in at your home turf, right? You don't have to travel anywhere after all these weeks of training camp, right, in preseason. And they also play 2 home preseason games, which doesn't really matter, but I throw that out there. So, yeah, week 2, I'm not worried about that at all. At Tampa, that team is miserable. So, I don't know if you have any other details on that, but I'm just pretty much chalking that as a win.
Yeah, I mean, I think early in the season, Tampa might still have some fight. There's bottom out potential with that team for sure. They could absolutely end up with the first overall pick. But I like week 2. I'd feel better about getting them in like week 11 or 12. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But still, I feel like you can still very winnable game, obviously. But as Kevin alluded to, the real test starts in week 3. You travel to Kansas City, another afternoon 3:25 game, and I mean, this is the test. This is the measuring stick. You go against the best team in the league, the reigning Super Bowl champs. You go to their place, and this will really show what you're made of. This, I think, is a game where you could say this could be damaging to the team, or at least it could be a real bad reality check. If you go, let's say you go 2-0, let's say you beat the Packers and you beat Tampa Bay, and then you travel to Kansas City, you're feeling good. It looks like you've taken that step. And if you go and you get walloped, and you lose by 3-4 touchdowns, even though it's Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, and you get a reality check like, oh, maybe we aren't where we thought we were, that could be damaging. Maybe not to the team, maybe that's hyperbolic, but to the fan base will freak out. Like, oh my God, we're not anywhere near where we thought we were going to be. We thought this was where you were going to take the lead. And I'll be completely honest, my expectation for this team going into next season is like 8 wins, maybe 9 if you get lucky, but still below, 500, quote unquote. Because there isn't a true 500 anymore. But my expectation is a jump from the number 1 overall pick to, the worst record in the league to, respectable at least. So this could be a game where I think the Bears lose this game. It's tough to go to Kansas City in any case, but when you're a team that's on the rise, at least show some fight. At least, don't get the doors blown off. If you lose by 7-10, cool. Even if you lose by 14, I feel like you could still make it look better than it is in the box score. Be competitive in this game, and if you win, great. But that's my thing is if you get the doors blown off and you just get run up and down the field, that could be like we're not close here. Or it could be a reality check in the sense of, we really got to batten down, and maybe you turn it around. I don't know. I mean, we're doing this conversation May 19th again, so it's like,
it's one of 2 things. It could be that, or it could be Bears are 2-0. They go to Kansas City. They're playing well. Justin Fields outplays or plays just as well as Patrick Mahomes and win the game, and this team is a very legit contender. Like there's I wouldn't say that has high odds of happening, but you're going to get that opportunity to make that statement, and that's what I like about this. You have this opportunity early to make that statement, because again, if you lose, it might be sort of a reality check, like, hey, we're far behind, but that the expectation at the moment is not to be competing on a weekly basis with the Kansas City Chiefs. So it's less damaging if you lose that game, but it's more indicative if you win it. So it's a really good opportunity to, on a national audience, like people always talk about primetime games, right? Like, okay, they have 4 primetime games. They play Sunday night against the Chargers. They play 2 Thursday night games against the Commanders and the Panthers, and the Monday nighter against the Vikings. But some of the most watched games in the entire football season are the 325 games, America's Game of the Week on Fox. Like typically those are the most watched games of the year, like Cowboys, Eagles, or something like that. There's a chance that this could be the most watched game of the entire 2023 football season, because you get the Chicago market, you get the reigning Super Bowl champs on 325 at Fox. It's got all the drama. It's Justin Fields, Mahomes, two exciting players. That could be the most watched game of 2023. So the Bears in front of a national audience could go out there, play well, go toe-to-toe, and if they win, it's like, yeah, this is a team that could win this division. This is a team that if they get into the playoffs could make some noise because of the talent of their quarterback. And you just want to see your quarterback. Like, I think it's more of, like, if you are noticing the rest of the roster, like, lacking behind, which I don't think will be the case as much as it was last year, you want to take away from this, like, is Justin Fields on that level of Patrick Mahomes? Is he? Because you look at some of the games last year in which the other team was not competitive, but Justin Fields was. He played just as well, if not outplayed, Jalen Hurts in that game against the Eagles. I wouldn't say he outplayed him. They're on the same level, though. Josh Allen played better than him in that game, even though Josh Allen, I think, threw a couple of interceptions. But Justin Fields was outplaying quarterback. He outplayed Tua Tagovailoa at the time where Tua Tagovailoa was a serious MVP candidate. He was outplaying, a bunch of, I'm trying to think of other names, but he was outplaying the opponent. Kirk Cousins, he was outplaying the opponent most weeks when he was, even when the team was losing games. So if he goes there and he goes toe-to-toe with Mahomes and they lose the game, your takeaway is not they lost the game. Your takeaway is Justin Fields is the guy, he's a legit MVP contender that is going to go head-to-head against the best player in the league. And that's the test for me. This is more of a test for Justin Fields. If he can rise up to this occasion, rise up to the moment against Patrick Mahomes week 3 in Arrowhead, then it is a testament to the team. So that's what I'm going to be keeping my eye on. But this has, again, I'll say it again, the potential to be the most watched game of the 2023 season, and just a really, really good opportunity for the Bears to make a statement. And even if they lose, still make a statement like, hey, we were competitive in Arrowhead. Watch out, we're coming. Good confidence-building opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, it could announce your presence as a playoff contender. Maybe not Super Bowl contender,
right?
But, at least a playoff contender. Next on the schedule, I mean, we don't really know what the Broncos are going to be. In the thing, like, you take them, you welcome back, you do 2 weeks on the road, and then you come back to Soldier Field, and you get the Broncos. Broncos could be awesome, or they could stink again. And it's just really, you don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah, you don't. And real quick, I want to address this question from Joshua Reigns real quick. He says, how early can our rookies make a significant impact? It has to be week 1. You for a lot of this offseason, you turn to the draft for solutions at key positions of need. Right, you didn't address 3-tech. You turned to the draft and you went at defensive tackle in the second and third rounds. You didn't address right tackle. You tried to with Mike McGlinchey. You went with Darnell Wright. Like, if you want this team to be good and win some of these games early on, these rookies are going to be needing to make a significant impact come week 1, especially Darnell Wright. Obviously, that's your first round pick. You expect that guy to be, a pretty solid player from the jump. But Tyreek Stevenson, Zach Pickens, Gervon Dexter, like, these are players that are going to need to be effective in these early weeks if you have any chance of being the Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead. So, Jake, I don't know if you want to address that question as well, but I expect, they went after a couple guys who are going to be longer projects, quote unquote. So not all of them are going to be, I'm not going to expect to be impact players week 1, but certainly Darnell Wright and Tyreek Stevenson, those two guys, and probably Zach Pickens and maybe Gervon Dexter, all will be players on the field in the first 4 weeks and hopefully making impact.
No, I agree. And I'll take this. They will make an impact because they're all going to be playing week 1.
Correct.
I mean, Darnell Wright will be starting. Gervon Dexter or Zach Pickens will be at least in a significant rotational role. And Tyreek Stevenson might be starting at week 1 as well in the slot.
He will be.
Spot.
Oh, yeah, outside.
You'll have at least one definite rookie starter, maybe 2, and then another 2 who are probably going to see more than 50% of the snaps. So, yeah, week 1 for sure. They will. So that'll be something to watch. That's a big storyline for the Bears and how well they're going to do this year. Do you have
Real
anything
quick,
on the Broncos game? Or?
Yeah, I do. I mean, you don't know at this moment what that team is going to be. And this goes back to a conversation that a lot of people have when this time of year comes around is strength of schedule. Where do the Bears rank in strength of schedule? How hard is the schedule that they play? Here's the problem with that conversation. Last year, we had the same conversation. This was one of the reasons I got baited by this. This is one of the reasons I picked the Bears to win, 9 games last year? I thought the Bears would be a decent football team last year because I expected Justin Fields.
You might have been in double digits.
I wasn't in double. There's no way I was in double digits.
You might have been at 10.
I think I was at 9 and 8 in my final, which, regardless, whether it's 9 or 10 is bad overall. Yeah, you better get it right. You don't put this on me. You're making me look bad out here.
We were both wrong. I think I said 6, so
sure,
I was off.
We were both off. Yeah, I think everyone was probably off, but they openly tanked. What do you want us to do?
Right,
it was they obviously tanked, but nonetheless, the Bears were projected to have, I think, the easiest or second easiest schedule in the NFL last year. Supposed to play a ton of good teams. Shane in the chat says Byron Pringle is the key to unlocking the Bears.
Yes, famously so, actually. Yeah.
Famously so. I will never live that one down. Anyway, the Bears were supposed to have one of the easiest schedules in the NFL. They ended the season with the hardest schedule played in the NFL because they played a lot of teams that took jumps, right? They played the Eagles, they played the Bills, they played the whole NFC East. That was one of the best divisions in NFL history this past year, right? It just didn't break their way. So now everyone's looking at this year. I think it's based off of 2022 record, right? This is how this works, which is why it's stupid because it doesn't take into account for teams that get better, like the Chicago Bears, who are going to be probably at least 4 to 5 games better than what they did last year. Well, we'll take it. But they're supposed to have middle of the road 18th easiest strength of schedule in the NFL based off the 2022 record, and the Broncos are one of those teams that factors into that. They were a horrible team last year, but they get Sean Payton, a guy who's probably going to work well with Russell Wilson. They make some key additions in free agency and in the draft. They're probably going to be a better football team, but to address that, to see just how hard it is, there's actually a better metric in my opinion, something that you're familiar with. Warren Sharp with Sharp Football Analysis does this, and instead of using 2022 strength of schedule, what they do is they use Vegas projected win totals, which everyone says Vegas is always right. Well, if Vegas is always right, then you look at that, and in that case, the Bears actually are supposed to have the 6th easiest based off of 2023 Vegas projected win totals of their opponents. So, based off what Vegas, sorry, I can't speak right now. Vegas is expecting, the Bears will have an easier schedule. So I'd rather look at that to determine just how difficult and challenging the Bears' schedule is this year. But the Broncos are one of those teams where they won, 5 games last year? 4, 5, 6 games last year? And everyone's like, oh, that's an easy win on the schedule. No, it's not. I mean, that's a team that's going to be better. Russell Wilson's still a good player. I think it was just Nathaniel Hackett and whatever was going on there all around was just bad news. But that's one of those games that you're lucky to get at home. You don't want to have to go to the altitude and play that game in Denver week 4.
No, definitely agree with that. And we'll see how that game shakes out. Next game, Washington, another team that has just real bottom out potential and they could be average or they could just be bad. So I don't really have a ton on them.
Thursday night again. Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is why I'm confused, right? You would think that after that game that I was at that Commanders-Bears game
after
in which the final
game that we got last time.
Oh, it was amazing. My money well spent on that game. Not. I mean, that was 13-6, 13-7. It was 13-7. And Justin Fields made an incredible play in that game, and they should have won the game if Darnell Mooney caught that ball. It would have been great if they won, because it was an electric finish at the end with that Justin Fields run and everything. But you would have thought that after that game, Jake, Al Michaels would have went straight to the Amazon Prime production crew and said, don't you ever put Bears Commanders on a game that I will call ever again. Don't freaking do it. And they go ahead and do it. I mean, Al Michaels, he was roasting each team at the end of that game. Yeah. He was just openly shitting on them. And now now it's in Washington at one of the worst stadiums in the NFL. No one's going to be there. I don't know. It's just a lousy decision by them, but we'll take it. I mean, this is a win for the Bears. And just, getting a Thursday night game early, I guess it doesn't matter as much because they have another Thursday night game. Right. But you now have 3 times this year, you have a rest advantage against the other team. So That means because they play Thursday night twice, so they have 2 quote-unquote mini-buys. And if everyone remembers what they did with the mini-buy last year, they were awful after the Commanders game. They used the 10 days. They come back. They beat the Patriots on the road against Belichick, who, second-year quarterbacks never win against Belichick, blah, 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 in Foxborough on primetime, all this stupid shit. They pummeled them in Foxborough. The Bears have 2 mini-buys in the full buy. So 3 times this year out of the 17 games, they will have a rest advantage against their opponent. That's huge. And people can say what they want about, well, you have 2 short weeks as well. Well, in those situations, both teams have a short week. So who prepares better when both teams have a short week? For the 3 times that you have the rest advantage, you have more rest than the opponent. So you have an advantage more times than not this year against your opponent. That's a key thing. But yeah, Thursday, October 5th, that should be a win. Fuck Amazon Prime, though. I don't know. I just don't like that. I don't like having... And like the whole Peacock thing with the wild card game, like, are you going to buy that? No. I'm going to buy Peacock one game.
So.
Oh, okay. What do you watch on Peacock? What sort of watch on Peacock? Golf?
Well, my roommate watches a lot of soccer. Sometimes if
Premier
I'm
League?
up, sometimes if I'm up, I'll watch the early Sunday MLB game.
Okay.
That's really it.
How much it costs you per month?
It's part of my internet. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
So I don't have an actual answer to that. But whatever. All right. After Washington, you get the second division game. You get the Vikings. And this is another one that'll be kind of a measuring stick game that the Bears and the Vikings are kind of expected to be in this scrap for the NFC North. The Vikings are expected to regress. Don't think they're going to win 13 games again with Kirk Cousins, who's another year older. Justin Jefferson, of course, is a beast. But, Vikings could be vulnerable. They probably aren't going to be nearly as good as they were last year. And, you could win this game, especially at home.
Very much could win this game. I'm expecting the Vikings to take a major step back. I mean, again, it was the narrative all last year. This team was 13-4 and had a negative 54-point differential, or it was greater than that. It was unbelievable. Yeah. I mean, they were winning games because Justin Jefferson is doing ridiculous things against the Bills, one-handed, keeping them alive, 4th and 15. Like, I wouldn't say major crash. I think the Vikings will be in contention for a wild card slot late in the season. Like, you will have to fight with that team probably to get into the playoffs. Like, I don't think the Vikings are going to be that bad. I think there's a potential that they could be that bad because we've kind of seen it before. But they have enough talent on the team. Their defense, I think, is going to take a step back. But they add Jordan Addison to the offense. Alexander Madison is probably going to take over for Dalvin Cook, who apparently is, like, going to get released or something. Like, weird things going on there. God knows. But do not draft Dalvin Cook in your fantasy draft. Don't do it. And if you have him in Dynasty, drop him. It's not good. So I can't at this moment chalk it up to a win or loss. I'll do that later when we do a final record prediction. But I don't know. It's an interesting one. But at home, again, you come home after going to Washington for Thursday night. You get the 10-day rest. I like that spot, having to play a division opponent with rest advantage.
Yeah, I do too. I think that's definitely a winnable game. And like you said, the Vikings have bottom out potential, especially if Cousins gets hurt. Raiders.
Bottom out potential?
If Cousins gets hurt, yeah. Like who's even backing up Cousins these days?
If he gets hurt, oh God, it's certainly not Kellen Mond.
Right.
He was released or traded. I don't know. I don't even know who's their backup right now. Couldn't tell you. They drafted
Nick Mullins.
Hey, Nick Mullins is actually solid, but
he's
Nick Mullins, sure.
If Cousins gets hurt, there's serious bottom out potential there. So that's just my only point. Speaking of bottom out potential, the Raiders are just Jimmy G does not scare you. Devontae Adams does, but Devontae Adams hates the team and now wants out maybe already. And you have the coaching advantage for sure. And Josh McDaniels versus Matt Eberflus, which is laughable because McDaniels stinks. So I think this is a game that the Bears probably win. You should win, especially because you are at home and you beat them at the last time you saw them was at their place and you won. So, and they were a better team then and had a better quarterback then. So I don't have much to say on this.
I don't really have much to say either. I'm not counting the Raiders out just because something in my mind wants to believe that Jimmy G and Josh McDaniels rekindling the relationship could make them an okay team. Like I mean, the talent on offense is good. Like the talent on offense is really good. They get. I think they signed a free agent tight end as well, but they obviously have
Devontae
Devontae Adams.
Away Darren Waller.
Yeah, but Darren Waller was not that great for them the past couple of years with injuries. He just wasn't fitting in the offense. But sure, yeah, that's a talent player. And who did he get? I don't remember who Darren Waller got traded to.
Giants.
Giants, right? Yeah, that was interesting. Giants gonna be an interesting team, but the luxury here is you get back-to-back home games. So you get a couple times this year where you get back-to-back home games. You get it late in the season, which is clutch. You get it right now, and those are the only time that you get it. So you only get back-to-back home games twice, and this is one of them. So this is where you have to take advantage of that. You have to win this game against the Raiders. They're coming from the West Coast. I like that to be a win. I'm not scared of them. I think they'll be okay, but I'm not daunted by them. And you play a really tough game after that, so you want to kind of coast against the Raiders here before you travel to the next one.
Yeah, and then next one is probably the biggest one of those opportunities to show out and show that you have arrived. Even if you lose that Kansas City game, you go to the Chargers on Sunday night. Justin Fields versus Justin Herbert, and this is Khalil Mack game again. The first time I think that the Bears have seen the Chargers since trading Khalil Mack there. I mean, this is another opportunity. If you lose that Kansas City game, the Chargers aren't as good, I don't think, at least right now where we sit on May 19th. But you could go in there and win this game on Sunday Night Football and really make yourself known as a playoff contender.
So the only time the Bears play on Sunday Night Football this year, right, which is relatively interesting.
As of right now.
As of right now, right? Well, they also are TBD against the Browns week 15. Well, which we'll get to. But this is the game, man. Like, this is the game on the schedule. Aside from Chiefs, this is the one that I'm pointing to. I know a lot of people who are making that trip out to LA, and I'm kind of thinking about it. October 20th, Halloween weekend, go to LA, some celebrity Halloween parties, I know I got the connections.
Those invites,
I'm getting those invites. Beverly Hills, I'm walking in, LeBron's there, Drake's there, Travis Scott, hanging out with the boys. Pretty standard thing for me. But in LA, NBC Sunday Football at SoFi.
Are you going to show them all the Instagram stories you've posted with their songs? Is that how you're going to get it?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to show them all their songs, tell them my favorite lyrics. Yeah, it'll be cool. I mean, I already am in contact with them, so they're aware of me. Good. They're my boys. Good. Shout out Trav, shout out Drake for the 6. Yeah, those are my guys. I would include LeBron in the group right now, but after his actions in that last Lakers Nuggets game, I just can't condone that type of behavior. So we're going to have to drop LeBron from the friend group of me, Drake, and Travis Scott. So it's just me, Drake, and Trav now. But yeah, I'll be out there in LA with the boys in Beverly Hills. And then after that, I will be going to Bears Chargers. And I'm pumped for this game, man. Like, again, a lot of these that you get excited for are quarterback matchups. And you're just dreaming. And NBC should be dreaming of Justin Fields versus Justin Herbert, the battle of the Justins. It's going to be a great game. And another opportunity, like the Chargers are going to be a good football team. I predicted the Chargers to win the Super Bowl last year.
That game could be a shootout. Like that, that game could be 35, 31, 32. Like that game could be wild.
Could be 45, 42. Like, it could be. It could be something crazy, and it's going to be. That's a game to bet the over. I bet the over now. They obviously don't have week 8 lines out, but if they did, I'm hammering the over.
You think?
Can we get a line for each week?
That number's gonna be
52, 53.
I was gonna say 54. So
yeah, it's gonna be up there. Are you? I think Chargers will be really good this year, and I think the Kellen Moore, getting him as your offensive coordinator is one of the
believer. Yeah, I mean, the Chargers famously hung on to Austin Eckler, as someone said that they would, but adding what's his face, the receiver in the first round, Jesus Christ,
Quentin Johnson, which makes them scary.
Is really great. Yeah, I mean, that's really good for Justin Herbert. Getting an actual offensive coordinator is really helpful. Yeah, that game's going to be a lot of fun, and I think there's a lot of potential there for the Bears to announce themselves.
You want to go? You want to go?
What is that?
You want to make the trip out to LA Sunday the 29th, Halloween weekend? I'll introduce you to Drake and Travis.
No, I can't, because you know why? I have a wedding the next weekend.
Oh, damn.
So I'm going to be.
You ever been to LA?
A long time ago. Not a long time. It actually was. I was already 21, so shit, I'm 25. Whoa.
Jake, you're getting old. Wait, quick question for you.
Like
NFL stadium bucket list, top 3. SoFi's number 1 for me.
See, I'm not like as well versed in NFL stadiums as I am in like MLB parks.
Sure.
But I guess like given location, like Vegas, obviously. I think New Orleans, like the Superdome.
Okay.
And Atlanta would probably be another one. SoFi is good too. Like, I don't know. LA to me is like, I was there like 4 years ago, and it was like fine. Like I went to see the Dodger Stadium, and they were out of town, but it was cool still. Yeah, I mean, I'd go to SoFi. I don't know. LA, I don't think is a place where I would do well. LA doesn't. I don't.
No, it's not.
LA is not a
It's
place for me. I don't think where I will. I don't see myself spending a lot of time in my life. But all right. Anyway, a stadium that I did bring up. Then next couple games, you have at New Orleans hosting the Panthers on Thursday Night Football, and then at Detroit. Any of these games that really, tickle your fancy?
Not individually, but let's just all group them together here because we're kind of crunched on time. 3-game stretch, real opportunity to win 3 in a row here, right? Go to New Orleans, which is everyone thinks that team's going to win the NFC South, and that could be true, and that could be a team that wins the division with 9 wins or 8 wins. Like that's going to be an absolutely abysmal division. And then you return home, against the Panthers for whatever the DJ Moore revenge
talk about
game.
a must-win game. Like talk about a must-win. Like if there's one game like that we could say, and I know I made fun of Kevin for calling the Packers game a must-win.
Yeah,
game.
here you are on May 19th.
Well, this legitimately is a must-win game given the draft implications because you have the
right.
So the worse they do, the better it is for you. So this is legitimately a must-win game.
Yeah, that is true. It's a double win if you win. You win, and then you get a better draft. That's actually, I didn't even think about it that way. So yes, 100%. And if which I don't think is bad, if Bryce Young were able to outplay Justin Fields, there would be the conversation Monday morning on First Take would be, should the Bears have taken Bryce Young with the first overall pick last year? It would be everywhere. That's not going to happen, but it would be everywhere. Let's hope that doesn't happen. Anyway, then they get the 10-day rest advantage and play the Lions at Detroit, which I'm just not scared of it. I'm sorry, I'm just not. Like, again, what did I say for all these games? This is the quarterback matchup. If I believe my quarterback is the better player, is the better quarterback, I believe my team has a legit shot to win that game. That's how I evaluate the NFL for most of it. If I believe my quarterback is the better of the two in the game, I believe my team has a better shot regardless of how you evaluate the roster across the board. And that's not the wrong way to, in this age of the NFL, it's not a wrong way to think. Is it?
No, I mean, I think you're right. Like, the thing is, I'm just.
You're a huge Lions believer. You're a big Lions believer.
Because they did, they objectively got better. Like, what can I say? Like, they objectively got better.
They got better, but could they have gotten better? They got better, but could they have gotten better? Think about it. Like, the way they allocated their resources, especially in the draft, was not really great. Like, Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be an extremely good player. Jack Campbell might be fine, but for what was available to them, they reached on both of those guys.
Yes, they did.
Like, they get better overall, but I think they could have done more this offseason, personally.
Sure, yes. Could they have gotten even better? Yeah, absolutely. But I still think, and that's kind of why I think that the NFC North is seen as such like a scrap heap, really, because the Lions could have taken a huge leap, and they really just took a step, it seems like, at least at this point. And the Vikings are going to fall back, and we don't know what the Packers are going to be. And we kind of expect the Bears to take a step forward, but we don't know how big of a step is the thing. So, it's just kind of interesting. And I think that's part of it is because the Lions had an opportunity to kind of, what's the word I'm like, really take this division by the throat almost.
Correct.
And they didn't.
Correct.
And they kind of chose not to, in a way. Like, if it pays off, if like Jahmyr Gibbs and their draft picks hit their ceiling, then the Lions have the potential to run away with the division. But nobody is really like, oh yeah, they nailed it, and those guys will for sure hit their ceiling. So we're kind of like, okay, it's up for grabs still. And the Lions are kind of vulnerable. So, and I've said vulnerable like 53 times at least during this podcast episode, but whatever.
I like it.
It's just interesting. So, and I think that's kind of part of the intrigue of this division.
But it's not just that though. Like it's yes, again, their free agency and their draft signings kind of mid or whatever, and if they reach their season, but that's what it is. That's what it is. That is the thing that's holding most people back from being a surefire confidence in the Lions being the NFC North champions. That's exactly what it is. You have no reason. Like, yes, in 2017 when he took the Rams to the Super Bowl, that team and Sean, like you just can't compare it
No.
because it was
That
it 2018?
19.
No way.
Yes.
No, 2019 was
Yes.
Chiefs.
It was 2019
No, it wasn't.
Super Bowl. Yes, it was, because 2020 was Chiefs.
I guess it was the year of 2019.
It would have been 2018, 2019.
Yeah, February 3rd,
season.
2019.
So
Yeah,
like it would have
2018,
been the
2019.
year.
Sure.
Sorry, the year
Right, the
itself would have
year-
been 2019. It would have been the 2018-19 season.
Correct. You are correct. 13-3 Patriots win worst Super Bowl in history. But
So bad.
it was so bad. I don't even remember. I couldn't even remember a single play that happened. I don't even know who the Super Bowl halftime performer was.
It was Maroon 5. It was Adam Levine and Travis
Oh, well,
Scott.
that's why. And
And I know-
Travis Scott.
Yes, Travis.
Oh,
Scott
they
came
did the
out-
SpongeBob Astral World thing in
Yes.
the beginning. Oh,
And I remember because it's burned into my brain because I was in a pool of like Super Bowl like halftime prop stuff, and
Oh,
I was in a
nice.
pool in college, and one of the categories like this guy had it all in an Excel spreadsheet,
yeah.
and it was just like whatever. And one of the categories was first song played, and obviously just like it is,
Sicko
just like it is, if you go on FanDuel
Yeah.
or whatever in the last Super Bowl, and they're talking, we're all like, blah, blah, and I go, I think it's going to be harder to breathe because of the opening, because it's like that bump, 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 like it's like fast open, like the drum opening. I was like, I think it's going to be that, and sure enough, that's what it was, and I was the only person that had it. I was the
really?
only person, and it's burned into my brain. That's why.
You're the goat of guessing. Did you guess it this year too?
I didn't guess it. I mean, just working two gambling shows, you hear a lot of people tell you like what it's going to be
True.
fairly
So you
early
can-
on in the
yeah.
process. But that year I was completely blind because I was still in college,
Right.
so makes it a little bit nice.
All right. Well, one good thing came from the 2019 Super Bowl with the Rams and the Patriots.
Yes.
But nonetheless, that's the thing for me. Like, I'm not going to deny that the Lions have a crap ton of talent, regardless of what you say about what happened with free agency. Like, they're
Ceiling's
talented.
there.
The ceiling's there. I think the verdict is still out on Dan Campbell, in my opinion. Like, I get why he's the odds-on favorite to win Coach of the Year. Like, it makes sense, right? It makes sense. But I'm not ready to declare him a top 10 coach in the league who's, for sure a guy who's going to be able to
He's
lead
a
a team
good
to 13
coach.
wins.
It's just he might not be great. He's a
Yeah,
solid
but I don't
coach.
even think we know that yet. I mean, they started the year 1-6 last year, and I guess you could say to his credit they turned it around, and that's a positive attribute. Sure, like I get it, but I don't know. It's just premature for me. But nonetheless, I just don't have enough faith in them. So that game I think could potentially be a win. Then you go Monday night, November 27th, week 12 against the Vikings. Their only Monday nighter of the year. Their fourth primetime game in the span of 8 weeks. So a lot of Bears for the national audience. What do you make of this one?
No, I still think that, depending on how Minnesota, we're doing a lot of projection here in this episode, obviously, and now we're into November. But, Monday night, historically, Justin Fields does pretty decent on Monday night games. And so in Minnesota, if they regress or if, they're not as good as they were last year, which we all expect, another game where the Bears could really prove themselves here and really provide some kind of a spark, I guess, because realistically, this could be a really strong spot in the Bears schedule where, you get Panthers, Detroit, Minnesota, New Orleans is not that strong. Like Bears could come into this game hot and then enter the bye week hot. And then you get the Lions again. Like it's pretty strong. Like I really like, and this is going to be jumping ahead. How the Bears end the season to me is very, very strong at Cleveland, who, is Deshaun Watson going to look as good as he did in Houston, or is he going to look like he did last year? They're vulnerable. And then you get the Cardinals, who could be far and away the worst team in football, and the Falcons, who are probably still not going to be very good, and the Packers, who we've agreed could be, an interesting game there. Like, I think the back half of this schedule for the Bears, from week 10 on, is super interesting and has a, opportunity for, how many games are here? 7 for 5 to 6 wins in the back half here.
Yeah, I would agree. You get 8 games in the back half, quote unquote, I guess. But Vikings, whatever, Monday Night Football in Minnesota, they probably lose that game. But this is where things get critical for me, right? So now you address the bye in week 13. So I am very much against the late bye. I hate it. I don't like it. You have to go 12
Yeah.
weeks without any rest. I hate it. But because you have the 2 mini buys in between then, or before then, with week 5 against the Commanders, before week 6, you get 10 days, and then week 10 on Thursday night, before week 11, you get another 10 days. You have ample rest periods to get guys healthy within that time period. So I'm less concerned about that week 13 bye because I believe the Bears had a week 13 bye last year, if I'm not correct, and I believe I'm correct. Or it was late. Buys end in week 14 or 13. Is week 13 the last week of buys?
Maybe 13 sounds right.
Yeah, I think it's 13. I don't know. It could be 14. But nonetheless, I don't like late buys again, just typically because you don't. So the Bears had to buy December 11th last year. So that would probably be.
So that would have been like week 14.
These are things
13, 14. So around the same spot. Would have been week 13, 14.
And you just before that bye, they lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 consecutive games, and they were not healthy. They couldn't get they just needed a reset.
So the team also wasn't very good.
And the team was also bad, and they traded boy players. And I get it. And obviously they famously ended up losing 12 in a row to end the season, 11-0. Just unbelievable tank job, actually.
I didn't have much,
but I digress. The bye here is significant because of what you hit on, with the final 5 games being at home against the Lions, on the road against Detroit, at home against the Lions, on the road against Cleveland, at home against the Cardinals, at home against the Falcons, on the road against Green Bay. So not only do you have 3 of your 5 games on the road at home, you also have a stretch here where they could go 5-0. So you get rest before a 5-0 stretch. So say they approach the bye at what could their record be? That would be week 12. Say they approach their bye at 5-7, right?
Yeah.
Say it's 5-7. Things look grim. They approach the bye. There's a legitimate chance in my eyes they go 5-0 and end the year 10-7. That's a possibility. Or even 4-1, and you might get in 9-8.
Bottom feeders there, and the Cardinals and the Falcons. That's great.
It's phenomenal. I mean, and to have both those games at home, you can coast hopefully through them before you go to Green Bay. This is a really, I think overall, we can kind of, we detailed every game. One other thing I guess you could detail, they play on Christmas Eve, yeah, ho, 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 and then they play New Year's Eve against the Falcons. That's fine, I guess. In general, looking at the schedule as a whole, this is a favorable schedule for the Bears. There are instances
that's what happens when you get a last place schedule. Generally, that's what happens.
But I'm not even talking about opponents. I'm just talking about the way that rest and travel shakes out for you. The other thing that people looked at is, I think Bears travel the 3rd least amount of miles of any team, and
something like that, yeah.
They're in the Midwest, so naturally each year they typically don't have to travel too far, even though they do play the AFC West. But you don't have to, travel on short rest to anywhere crazy against a good team. Most of your challenging opponents are at home, aside from the Chargers on the road on Sunday night. You have a favorable back end of the schedule, which you would always rather prefer. This is a very, very favorable schedule for the Bears, just as how the dates shake out and how the opponents by week shake out. Yes, the strength of schedule isn't great. We already mentioned that Warren Sharp and the Vegas projected win totals project the Bears as having the 6th easiest schedule in the NFL. But in general, I'm very content at how this is laid out on a week-by-week basis as it pertains to what I believe the Bears can do and be from a record standpoint. So I guess that's a segue. If you want to predict it, if you want to lay it out on May 19th, I mean, we're already calling week 1 a must-win game. We might as well make a damn record prediction.
Who is this we?
You said, okay, you said week 10's a must-win, Mr. Who
because
is we?
It is. It
okay, then so is week 1, and I'll stand by it. We're both right. You don't have to ridicule me. I didn't ridicule you.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Because
no, you can't.
Right.
Are you right, though? Let's bring out the old who's right more often conversation.
We don't have to. Again, it will lean me for sure. I'm right about the Panthers game, though. You have to
and
win
I agree
that
with
game.
you. You have to win that game.
For draft implications. The week 1 game is way more ambiguous. It is 1 of 17.
You have to win that game. I'll stand by it. I will stand by that. You have to win that game. If you lose that game, it's all downhill.
I will give, and then we'll do a full schedule predictions thing, game by game later in the offseason. All right.
Shane agrees.
All right. Well, yeah, because he loves you. I'm the villain of this podcast, famously.
You're not the villain.
All right. I'm going to say Bears go. I do think they win week 1.
Okay.
But I'm not going to say it's must win. I just think they win. I'll say Bears go. I'm gonna stick with my normal because this is gonna take too long if I try to look at each game. I'm gonna say that the Bears go conservatively 8-9 with the upside to go 11-6.
Wow.
The upside.
Look at you.
The upside to go. I conservatively will say 8-9 because it's the Bears and stupid things will probably happen. 8-9 is what I'm expecting. But the ceiling is definitely there to win 11 or 12 games.
Before I give you my record prediction, I'll ask you this question. For our betting fans out there, this is a bet that I've made, and Jake's probably aware of this. But if they hit that 11-6 upside that you're mentioning here, does Justin Fields win the MVP?
Does he win?
Like, if they were to win 11 games.
Is he in the conversation? Yes.
Okay.
Does he win slam dunk for sure? No. Is he in the conversation? Yes.
I think if they win 11 games, I don't see a scenario where they win 11 games.
Let's go.
Jake's all in on the P. How's my boy?
Birdie to open the round. This guy's he's gonna piss me off so much already. I can tell.
I got Morikawa, so I'm locked in on the PGA Championship. Also, Joshua Reigns in the chat. Kevin leads the right game like 75% to Jake's 25%.
He's new here. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Let's go.
Who's your boy? What were you gonna ask about? Who you on?
In the PGA?
Yeah.
Morikawa.
Oh God.
He's probably like
one over. He's one over. I mean,
time.
it's a low. It's a
There's time.
Whatever. Doesn't matter.
17-0, we rolling. I believe. I agree. I'm Scocks. Justin. There are 4 primetime games. They played the Chiefs on America's Game of the Week, which I already mentioned could be the most watched game of 2023. He's on national audience a number of times. They also play a couple other 325s that could be America's Game of the Week, and they have a couple TBDs that could be flexed into primetime if both teams are good later in the season, in the Browns Week 15 and the Packers Week 18. The thing that won Lamar Jackson the MVP 2019 wasn't even his raw I mean, his stats were great, and the team was good. But it's because on a weekly basis, if you opened up Twitter or Instagram, it's a highlight of Lamar Jackson doing something absolutely ridiculously stupid. And that's what it was last year for Justin Fields, and that's what it's going to be this year for Justin Fields. Now he just has to add the wins and accompany that with the stats, right? Because if Justin Fields were to throw for 4,000 yards, oh my God, first Bear in NFL history to throw for 4,000 yards, right? He's going to break records if he throws for a certain amount of touchdowns. Like, the bar is set so low for Justin Fields to break records as a passer in this organization that it's going to hit headlines everywhere, and everyone's going to say, well, you know, what does most valuable player stand for? It stands for the most valuable player. It stands for MVP. Who's most valuable to their team? Not the best player, but who's most valuable to their team. And in that case, if the Bears were to win 11 games and go from 3 wins to 11 or 3 wins to 10, he has to be the MVP, and Matt Eberflus has to be the coach of the year. It has to be that. So
I think if the Bears go from 3 to 10, I think the more likely scenario is Flus coach of the year than Fields MVP.
Correct. I would agree. Like, that's a lock. If the Bears wins, because did Doug Peterson win the MVP, win the coach of the year last year?
No, Dable.
Oh, Dable did, right.
But it was a similar jump for the Giants, though.
Similar jump, right. Very, very comparable. They actually might have won the same. They might have had the same jump, actually, for a number of games won. It was just that the Jaguars had the first overall pick, but they won less games. T3 Podcast also says he only had 3,100 yards passing MVP, and that's what I mean. Like, there is a chance that Justin could throw for 30. He doesn't hit 4,000 and still wins the MVP. That's big for a while. Anyway, to give my record prediction, I'm going to go 10-7. I'm going to lock that in at 10-7. That could change. Again, this is May 19th, 10-7, and it's not going to change up. I'm not in position to pick this team to win 11 games right now. I'm just not. If anything, it would change down to 9-8. But there's enough winnable games on the schedule, and like I said, the schedule to me is favorable enough to easily find 10 wins on this schedule. Like, it should not be outlandish. I know I'm optimistic me, and I know it's over the top sometimes, but in reality, objectively, when you look at the schedule, you look at the way it shakes out, it's not difficult at all if you go on a game-by-game basis to find 10 to find 10 wins on the schedule. It's not hard for me at all. And with that late bye, with the too many buys, this is a good opportunity. And I just, like, Justin Fields kept you in so many games last year. He's going to keep you in a bunch of games this year. He's going to win you a bunch of games this year. The talent's better. The coach is good. It just, I'm very, very, I would be surprised if they won less than 8 games. I would be shocked. I'd be shocked if they won less than 8 games.
I wouldn't be shocked. I'd be disappointed. But yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. Like, and I agree with you about the ceiling. Like the ceiling is there for 11 to 12 wins or possibly more for sure. So I'm totally with that. But yeah, I mean, obviously the last place schedule helps. Like big, that's big. And it'll give you a jumping off point. And hopefully you do get some accolades, maybe whether that be Flus Coach of the Year, Justin Fields MVP, or Offensive Player of the Year, and maybe make a playoff push. And then you go from there.
Yeah, man. I mean, let's go. I know it's and the hype will build. Like because you know what's gonna happen is like this happened the year before 2018 with Mitch Trubisky and with the Bears that year when they acquired all that talent. It was like Mitch Trubisky for like a month in June was the leading bet. He was the most bet player to win MVP. That's going to happen with Justin Fields. This team is going to be one of the most bet teams to hit their over at 7.5. They're going to be, I think it's 7.5, right, for the Bears right now? I don't think it's 6.5. That'd be way too low.
Yeah.
7.5. Like all these things are going to come in. The hype is going to build. So if anything, the expectations are going to be set very high for this team. Come week 1, people are going to be, and it's already happening. People are expecting this team to be very good, and they're going to have to live up to those expectations. And I'll just throw it out there right now. I think the NFL is going to do everything they possibly can to put this team on Hard Knocks. It makes way too much sense. They're a big market. Everyone's going to watch. They have good characters across the roster. There's not drama, and I know they seek drama sometimes, but, you know, the hits principle, the Eberflus, rah-rah a little bit. Like, I think they're going to do everything they can, unless, are the Jets eligible?
I think so. That was my thought, too.
Okay. Then if the Jets are eligible, then I'll go to the Jets, which is fine. But, like, I know the McCaskies don't want the Bears to be on it, but selfishly, I want to see it, right? Like, there's no... I want to see it. You don't, like, everyone wants an inside look at the team. That's why people watch that 1920 Football Drive thing on YouTube. You want an inside look on your team. You want to get the personalities. I would like it, personally.
I would passively watch. I don't think I'd be, like, locked in when it drops live.
Really? Even if it was your own team? Like, I passively watch when it's the other teams, but...
It's also, I don't watch it. Like, I've never watched
in general. Okay.
Well,
so. You've never watched it? Okay, then I understand you. It's actually interesting, but nonetheless, Bears 10-7. Jake's got the ceiling at 10-6, and the floor is 8-9. This is gonna be a good year, man. I'm excited. Let's go.
Yeah, it'll be good. Good schedule, and you know, Bears probably still aren't done adding. There's still people out there in free agency too, so it'll be good. But this was our schedule update episode. It was good to be back. It was good to break it all down. Be back with you, Kevin, and we'll be back at some point. This is obviously the slow part of the off season, but if stuff happens, we'll be back. And you know, if we have some stroke of genius for an idea for an episode, we'll be back for that too. But until then, we appreciate you guys. We appreciate all the commenters, all the listeners, all the viewers. You guys are the best. This has been Bears Nation Podcast, brought to you by OnTap Sports Net. As always, bear down.
Bear down.